Hey again, guys. Took me a little bit longer than I expected because I had to set some things up. I was able to get a new slicer. Well, technically it was open box, but it's not used. I got two of them, technically. One for me, one for Bonus Mom. It's it's new to me. It's Dash. But that feels a little bit better than the other one I use. But there's dials in the back instead of the plates. So I'm going to have to figure out the dials. I should look at the booklet that came with it. It's actually a thicker booklet than I expected. But, next page for settings. Thickness ranges from 0 to 8 millimeters and makes thin slices, julienne, matchsticks, and dice cuts. But you're not explaining to me how to know when I'm doing the julienne or the dice. No, it does. Okay, I don't want matchstick. I don't want julienne. I want dicing for this. Start by cutting. I gotta cut it flat first. Well, I'm not doing potatoes. Why doesn't it tell me how to use the little... I don't know. I'll figure it out. But... saying this should be a 6. So we'll make sure that's a 6. Okay, I see the blades now. Yeah, that should work. Because I'm just doing this for the onions and the celery, so technically setting it up to do matchsticks will help get that dice that I want all the same. And we're going to start with the onions. I mean, I also have cabbage, but I'm not gonna. I just usually cut that by hand, which is usually why I also do it last, because it's the most. It's what I have to do the most exertion on. But before we do that, I am going to start the first video. I did take some notes. Hopefully, I'll remember to look at the notes while I'm slicing. You guys can see me fine. So, this was posted July 27th, 2023. And it's called Having a Breakdown, Self-Sabotage, and Memories of When I Was a Child with Photo. So, let me just turn this down a little bit because it's going to come from my speaker. And that might be a little out for you guys.
On TikTok last night, I have like this thing that I do, this little schedule. Hello, welcome to a new vlog. So I was on TikTok last night. I have like this thing that I do, this little schedule, where right before bed I just scroll on TikTok, and something about it just like calms me down. My melatonin's flowing through my body, and I don't know what it is. I do it for like 20 minutes. It is what it is. And I got this TikTok that popped up about like something about like when you have a Jeep, which is one of my favorites.
First of all, she's taking the melatonin gummies. So how is she saying the melatonin's flowing if she has to take something that helps her produce the melatonin? Sorry, what she's saying just isn't making sense to me. I don't know if it's making sense for anyone else. But it's just not making sense for me. Okay, that's not shaking you guys. That's good. At least not yet. So, I have a bag in front of the couch just for trash. So you're going to hear the occasional plunk. That's what's going on. I'm not just tossing the things on the floor, guys. Promise. So, yeah, she's doing the melatonin gummies, which, my 2 cents, or just my 2 cents, that's the name of her channel, she pointed out that it says right on the gummies, you're not supposed to take them long term. They're only supposed to be short term. I wouldn't know personally because they are, I actually don't do well with melatonin, at least in a form like that. Like I get, when I feel like I need melatonin, I will get the tart cherries from Walmart. I think I've mentioned it to you guys before, but the dark tart cherries are a natural source of melatonin, and I believe they're either 25 or 30 calories per serving. And with Walmart, there's no sugar added. They're already pitted. So I just pull them out kind of ahead of time to let them defrost a little bit and then just eat. Or you can have them in a yogurt. I'm considering trying the cottage cheese thing, because people keep saying it's good for you. I remember not liking the texture growing up, but maybe things have changed. I'm willing to give it another shot. If nothing else, I can possibly give it to the cats, especially if I get like a low salt version. Yeah, she shouldn't be on the gummies. So that's probably why she's having issues producing her own melatonin now. We do produce it naturally, for the record. We ourselves produce it. Sometimes there are things that hinder that. There are foods that help us produce more of it, or just are a source of it. So do the research, um, especially natural sources. If you're having problems, go to sleep. You might want to look into it. But if I take like a melatonin supplement, I find that I still feel like very groggy for hours after waking up. So, and that's even like taking just like a little 5 milligram thing. Uh, so I'd rather not. Uh, so, and she's about ready to just talk about fucking Jeeps. And I didn't come to realize at first she's not talking about Jeeps. Because I'm going to back it up slightly and then let it play through in a moment. But she's going to talk about how apparently the one vehicle she's wanted for herself is a G-Wagon. And, like, I know Jeeps. Like the Jeep brand Jeeps. Cherokee, Explorer, and the soft... They don't call them hatchbacks for Jeeps. But they basically have that vinyl sort of top. They're kind of like convertibles for Jeeps. I personally have a soft spot for Jeeps because one of my closer friends growing up, because I had friends that were older than me, because I really didn't spend much time as an actual child. I was taking care of the house and everything before I should have been. It is what it is. So, I had a friend of mine who had an Explorer, and it was hunter green, and I loved the color of it. And I also had my first bit of car sex in it. So there's that. But, do as I say, not as I do. I did shit before I was supposed to. But I was more mature. He was a friend with benefits, but I actually had feelings for him. He passed away some time ago due to cancer. But if it wasn't a 1980s Mustang that I ever got myself as a vehicle, I wanted to get myself an Explorer and have it be hunter green, just for the nostalgia. I mean, it was good 4-wheel drive. It had plenty of space to do things in. The back seats went all the way back into like a bed. But yeah, I mean, it just. But she's talking about a G-Wagon, which is apparently Mercedes-Benz. I'm not into that fucking bougie shit, so I didn't know this. I had to research it. And of course she wants a fucking out of this world, way too expensive for what it's actually worth fucking vehicle. So, I'm sorry that I might sound a little bit nitpicky on this, but that vehicles like Mercedes and the Hummers and stuff like that, they just seem excessive. They seem very, very excessive to me. So that was apparently one of the notes I decided to make myself.
I just scroll on TikTok, and something about it just like calms me down. My melatonin's flowing through my body, and I don't know what it is. I do it for like 20 minutes. It is what it is. And I got this TikTok that popped up about like something about like when you have a Jeep, which is one of my favorite cars, by the way. I'm not really a car girly, but I do like a Jeep. I like a G-Wagon, if we're being like super detailed. So anyway, I saw this TikTok where there was like tons of ducks on the Jeep, and I was like, is this one of those things on TikTok that isn't actually real? I just opened my blinds, which I do every single morning, and there is a Jeep parked across from my apartment. The whole windshield. I mean, there's at least 20 ducks.
Didn't bother to look this.
Oh my god, this is a real thing.
I didn't bother to look up this duck thing because it just didn't seem like worth my time. Especially when I was trying to make notes and go through videos in advance and stuff like that. If anyone knows what the hell she's talking about, I'm assuming rubber duckies. And she's not being concise about this, which is also annoying. I assume rubber duckies are on the dash, not like on the hood. And they're not stickers. I would think that would be illegal to just have rubber ducky stickers like on the front windshield. So I'm assuming that's what she's talking about. If anyone can clue me in, I'd be curious to hear it from someone else, but not with the way she explains things.
Well, I don't drive, I don't have a Jeep, but I'm almost tempted to go buy some little ducks just to put on Jeeps. I don't know why people with Jeeps do this. I don't know, but I just learned it, and now I'm physically seeing it in real life. I have had...
Also, is it all Jeeps? Is it just the Mercedes Jeeps? You know, she's not clear about it. And it's fucking annoying. So, again, if anyone is actually able to help me out with that, that'd be great. Also, this is not... I should have put them a different direction. Then they would have diced better. This is a learning curve for me, so... I thought I would actually take the moment to explain why I personally don't drive and most likely won't drive. And this is because I'm prone to panic attacks. It kind of started happening when I was a child. They started happening again when I had a particularly stressful job where I was taking on as many responsibilities as I could to have hours. Can I just... Yep. Okay, that was easy. As you can see, made quick work of the onion once I stopped fucking yapping. I still have a little bit of that onion, though. I have quite a bit of onion to go through. So that's why I figured I'd be here for a while. If I go longer than I intend, I'll just start reacting to videos on the fly. It is what it is. Oh, damn it. Onion fell apart on me. So, in addition to the panic attacks, there's actually an incident where I was dealing with someone else driving that freaked me out enough that it kind of comes into mind often when I'm riding with other people, and why I think it's impossible for me to learn how to drive. And I want to say I was 14 or 15. I should have been in high school, but high school really just wasn't working for me. I wasn't getting along with the kids there. I undiagnosed with the ADHD and apparently the autism. So where they had me in remedial classes because they thought I needed it, I just wasn't being challenged. And so I just didn't really have the fucks to be involved in the school. I mean, there was classes that I sat in on, like English and art, and that was the majority of it. So some of my friends, again, older, were actually at the local community college there in New Hampshire. So I would go sit in on some of those classes. Critical thinking was actually my favorite. And I actually helped participate in the assumptions portion of things. My best friend at the time, Scott, was the one actually attending the class, but people had to try to guess what the relationship was between me and him. A lot of people thought I was his kid, which, if he had me at 15, yeah, I guess that was possible. But yeah, so there was a lot of people that I was also friendly with there, and there was a woman in particular. Her name was Dawn. Reminded me of my aunt because she had a similar name, but she had 2 kids that I actually liked, and I would occasionally babysit for her. And one night in particular, she had me there much later than she said I was going to be. I believe she gave me the time of midnight. It might have been sooner, but nevertheless, she didn't come home until about 2. Sorry, there's some stuff stuck. Still a bit of onion stuck. I am sorry for that potential noise. I hope it's not too loud for you guys and it's just louder for me. Oh, my eyes are stinging a little bit now. But this is still easier than trying to do this simply by hand. So, come on. I know how to do this. I've done it. Okay, there we go. So, I remember it was around 2 when she finally came home. Completely shit-faced drunk. She apparently spent the money she was supposed to give me for babysitting. I don't even mention the late fees, but, you know, I never got a chance to discuss that with her, actually. But, she spent it all on the alcohol that she drank. And so I couldn't get a ride home. It was too late for me to potentially call anyone to give me a ride home. And so this practically obliterated woman had to give me a ride home at 2 o'clock in the morning. I wish I was exaggerating when I say there was at least 5 occasions that I remember where she nearly got us into an accident. Her beating on her horn, the other people, blaring theirs. Like, it was insanity. And I nearly pissed my pants, I'm pretty sure, at one point. Because we were inches away from a collision. Inches. And that person was close enough that I could hear him yelling with both of our windows rolled up. Because with the way he came to a stop, it was on my side. I was on the passenger side. And so he had his window up. My window was up. And I could hear him. But I did get home in one piece. Never got the money. And never babysat for her again. She had issue with it. But, yeah, I just couldn't trust her after that. That, and again, made me think of my mom. And so that was triggering without me understanding it. Because, 15-year-old me wasn't going to understand that sort of stuff. And she just wanted to basically take advantage of the fact that I was a good babysitter that would, take whatever and actually do a good job making sure her kids were fed, washed, taken care of for the night. So, that's why I don't think I could ever learn how to drive. I've kind of wanted at times to learn how to drive or ride, I guess would be the better, to use a motorcycle. But that has its own potential death issues. So I don't know if I could do that too. I wish I knew. But I don't, unfortunately, I think that's one of those situations where I'm not going to know until I get on one. And it's a scary thought. But besides a Jeep or a Mustang, a Harley is something else I would actually love to have. Just because I love the way they sound. I love the look. I love the fact that they're kind of Wolverine's preferred mode of transportation, because I'm a fucking nerd. So that's, getting to know me a little bit more. I thought, I'd help you all with that a little bit. And again, I know sometimes with the way I'm moving my robe, in case you didn't check out the update that I did first, I'm wearing a bra under this. So I promise you, you're not going to suddenly see boobie. But who knows? With enough interest, maybe I'd start an OnlyFans. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. If anything, I've considered doing it for my feet. But I've talked about that. So, yeah. That's one container down. So that's just me commenting about Amber's thing and also sharing a little bit of myself. So far, this dash chopper is working out really good. Almost done 1 bag of onions. I got 2 bags of onions, and then I got 2 things of celery, and then the head of cabbage. So, but I still got a ways to go.
Had not a good day today. I got my dress stained, so I'm gonna change my shirt real quick. So I will be right back. I just think it's so funny because the last time that happened, I was also wearing that dress. So like, what's happening? Y'all, I have had such a hard day today. I have not been wanting to film. I've been back on my like heartbreak bullshit, like crying and just feeling super unmotivated to do anything really. Y'all, I literally just slammed my finger in a door. Yes, I did. I was taking Twinkie Potty when I was coming back in. I don't know what I did, but yeah, now my finger, it's not bruised, swollen or anything, but it's like throbbing a little bit, so that hurt. But I wanted...
I don't know that I believe her about slamming her finger. She just... Her face doesn't show the signs of someone who looks like they're in a bit of pain. And you don't actually have to start crying, like actual tears, or, you know, making crying noises to indicate pain. And I say this as someone who has come to realize that I actually have a high pain tolerance because I'm almost constantly in pain. Between the nerve damage and the slip/herniated disc, I'm in constant pain. Even if it's a low level to me, I'm in constant pain. And I still have to function throughout the day, no matter what, especially now that it's just me. So, her cheeks don't look flushed, which is an indicator. There is no tearing of her eyes, which would be another indicator. She does not show said finger at all. And when she's talking about it, she's constantly looking from side to side. Like she can't stay directly connected to the camera for long. So to me, that just seems indicative of deception. So with all these things, I'm saying Amber's full of shit. So
I wanted to do some P.O. Box. I still have my P.O. Box, so if you want to send me anything, here's my P.O. Box. Like, my contract for the P.O. Box is for the next...
I wanted to talk about this too. And I touched on this in other people's, like, chats and stuff like that. I'm not sure that I believe people were sending her things in the P.O. Box. Or at least not as much as she wanted people to believe. Like, apparently, some of the things that were sent to her had like wood carving. Like there was at least a cutting board, but I think there were other wooden things and other things that had bits of her poetry, like on it. And I heard from someone else that if it wasn't things that she claimed were her poetry, apparently they were things that Damon White published. Yes, that Damon White. Apparently he published some stuff on Amazon, I believe. I'm not 100% certain on that bit, but I'm not really surprised that she would have used him as a pen name. Damon White is not on Facebook anymore. I personally looked at that myself, so maybe now anything on Amazon is done by her. I'm not sure, but because I've bought things on Etsy and through Mercari and whatnot, I have some experience with going through either third-party sellers, essentially, or, people who craft, and they will leave notes. They will, even send things on little, like, thank you cards. But that's not necessarily something written by a fan. It's just someone thanking her for purchasing the product. I've had people do the same thing for me. And they leave contact info for, like, if you'd want, this is my, this is my personal store. Things like that. So I'm not really sure, besides Cakegate, how much of this might have actually been purchased by other people. I've never seen or heard any indication of anyone coming forth and saying, oh, I bought that for her. So, Rumble! Muffin is laying in the box, minding his own business. You let him be. So, yeah. I just wanted to say that before she got into this P.O. Box segment, because it's something that bothered me during this whole thing. Especially for the comments that you'd see when she allowed comments, of people and what they'd say. And I just can't believe that she actually has that many people supporting her or wanting to shell out money like this. I don't know, maybe it's me being a little bit bitter and it not seeming fair that someone like her gets that sort of attention when, people like me or Nerfy, they don't get as much. And I feel like what we provide is at least a little bit more quality. So, I don't know. That's just me venting about it.
For the next couple of months, so you guys can still send me stuff. I've had people ask. So first thing I'm gonna open is this package here. So these are some really pretty earrings from Bobby. Thank you so freaking much. Like, look how beautiful those are. Their dad actually made them for me, specifically for me. So that's like super freaking sweet and amazing. Thank you so much.
That's what a custom order is, by the way.
Take the time to do that. They're stunning. So the next thing is this package right here, which there's no note to, but it's a book called Life Isn't Weighed on the Bathroom Scales by Laura Rose. So I guess it's a book about, like, debunking myths about weight loss industry, I guess. So whoever sent this to me, thank you. Okay, guys, so I'm about to actually show you something super, like, special.
Who but her would buy something like that?
Real quick backstory. I am the oldest of 4. I have 3 younger brothers, and when I was first put into foster care, me and one of my brothers were put into foster care while the other one actually got put up for closed adoption. So he was adopted, and that was one of the hardest.
Okay. I as well am the oldest of four. Technically, there's a half sister through my dad. But at least there was four of us growing up together, and we were all girls. I was the oldest, and then there's Amanda, who's the next oldest, and then there was a bit of an age gap before Shayna and Cassandra. Was he either 6 or 7 years? Mom was supposed to have had her tubes tied, but apparently that didn't stick. That was her story anyway. I mean, I was a kid. I don't know whether or not that's even true now, looking back at it, but I don't know why she would lie about something like that. But apparently people with narcissism sorts of personality types, you just don't know. So, my mom's choice of substances were, there's a bit of onion that keeps getting stuck off. I don't like that. Maybe if I turn the dial bigger. There we go. I fixed it. Okay. Sorry about that. My mom smoked cigarettes. She drank alcohol. And smoked pot, primarily. I know there were other substances, at least introduced at points. I got into an argument with her at one point. After I discovered she was doing crack. I want to say I was 12. I think it was right before we moved to New Hampshire from Mass. We were still living in South Lawrence at the time. I kind of had one of my first official boyfriends at that point. We didn't go on dates, but we made out a lot. His name was Nathaniel. I remember. He was Puerto Rican and very cute. And a bit of a sloppy kisser. But he was very cute. So I overlooked that. But my mom was with the dad of my younger two sisters. And apparently they were doing it together. I only found out because he was attempting to steal our Rent-A-Center TV. For those who aren't part of the country or maybe too young, Rent-A-Center is a rent-to-own place where especially people who are poor will, at least for a time, rent electronics, sometimes furniture. They do living room sets, bedroom sets. I did a stereo for a while when I was older. And that was just to build up my personal credit. Then, when this was a time where I wasn't living with Tom, it was shortly after I started working again. But when I was moving back in with him, I didn't want to move it. So I had Rent-A-Center take it back. And that was that. But my mom was renting a TV. And these were CRT TVs at that point. The old TVs. No flat screen. These were the thicker jobbies that you may or may not still see in like your grandparents' basements. Or wherever they might, have like a den-like area set up with an old TV. I don't know, but that's where I assume it would be. Not the old ones that kind of have TVs resting on them. It was more like what the old computer monitors were before they went flat as well. And it was probably like 36 inches, which was sizable at that point. This was 92 or 93. I want to say it was summer of 93. I hadn't turned 13 yet. But I remember that it was summertime. But, yeah, so he was trying to steal it to buy more crack. And the police had to be called, and he was arrested. And the cops didn't realize it, but I realized it, that if his name was Frank. If Frank was doing this, then obviously my mom was doing it too. I was the one who called the cops, not her. I called them. So after the cops had taken Frank away, I looked at her and I said, I know you're doing that shit too. If I see a single pipe, or if I see you smoking it in the apartment or near us, I will call the cops on you too. And I will get me and my sisters taken away this time. Because in the past, I covered for her. When child services was called, I would lie. I would tell them that she fed us, that she didn't hit us, that she made sure our clothes were clean when we went to school, that we had things to eat on the weekends when school was out. Because I was afraid of us going into foster care. At the age that I was, I had already started hearing horror stories about what happens to some kids when they go into foster care. And because what I had gone through myself between the ages of 4 and 5, I didn't want anything bad to happen to my younger sisters. Whether that was assault or fucking kids have straight up died while in foster care because of the foster parents, and it's messed up. It's a very real scary thing, and so I didn't want that. But I didn't want my mom accidentally killing my sisters either while fucking cracked out of her mind. So So far as I understand, she never touched this stuff again. I think they had just started. Maybe I'm just being hopeful. Maybe she just got really good at hiding it after that point. I don't know. But I never saw it. And since she never really had the money to continue it, I don't think that happened. I think she stopped. So, and I say this because from what I've heard from like Amber's own mouth and also through additional sources, like Casey, that Amber actually had it really lucky when it came to going to foster homes. Apparently she had people that could provide things for her, that didn't beat the shit out of her, that took her to trips. She certainly had it better than I did growing up. I still haven't gone to Disneyland or any amusement park. The most I've ever done is like a county fair. And that's because I take me and my sisters, where we saved up like cans and turned them in to be able to afford tickets for rides and stuff. So she tries to make it seem sometimes like boo-hoo, I was in the foster care system, but apparently it's what needed to happen for her, especially if her parents were doing math and whatnot. As she says, thing is we haven't gotten that consensus from either parent, so I'm not even sure if that's accurate. I know Mama Lynn has drug charges, but I haven't personally seen myself if they say what sort. But maybe this is me just being very jaded because I can't believe anything that fucking comes out of her mouth at this point. I'm watching her lie so much. But she's going to talk about at least her brother that she saved briefly. I don't believe that story. If a kid was choking with a cord around his neck, he's not going to be screaming. Because obviously there's enough air to... So it has to be one or the other. It can't be both. It just can't be both. It medically does not make sense. So I don't know what to believe as far as the story she's about to tell about the fact that one of her brothers, she only got to see once for a long bit of time, but she is eventually reunited with them because they did seek her out. But it upsets me because I shouldn't be in the position where I have to doubt this sort of story. Like, I feel kind of like an asshole for it, but at the same time, this is Amber Reed I'm talking about here. So If you know, you know. And I don't like feeling this way. I don't like that she makes me feel this way. Because, especially with the abuse and everything that I went through, I want to believe other people when they say that they've gone through different kinds of abuse. When she talks about being molested by her cousin, or first she said that she was sexually abused by her father or the father's friends, but then it was just sexually harassed, which is apparently similar to her. It just, when you have to backpedal even on shit like that, what do you believe? What can you believe coming out of her mouth? I just don't know.
Hardest things that I've ever had to go through. And then my mom ended up getting pregnant again, and she ended up having my baby brother, and I only got to meet him one time. My mom actually had him while I was in foster care, but I was able to the hospital where she had him for a...
So far as I understand, she has said both while I was in foster care and also while she was in prison. I've heard people that I consider reliable say as such. I don't know if that's actually the case or not, but it's what she says. Or, again, I don't know what is true. The picture that she shows certainly doesn't look like a visitation room in any sort of prison. And unfortunately, I've been to prison visitation rooms for family. So... sorry, it's again just thinking about the lies upon lies upon lies that she's told.
For a supervised visit, and I held him in my arms, and my mom actually sent me a picture. I don't even know how she still has it, but she sent me a picture of that day. Yeah, she did. Like, there's not a lot of things I remember from my childhood, but I remember that moment, and I remember that day, and I remember how...
How can she not remember much in her childhood? Yet apparently she remembers boat rides with her dad. That apparently wasn't her dad. That was a foster dad. According to a reliable source. She remembers the molestations or the sexual harassment. She remembers saving her baby brother. Again, make it make sense. When I talk about what memories I have of my childhood, I don't think I've stuttered. I don't believe once have I deviated. And there's no reason for me to deviate, because everything I say is the truth as I understood it to be at whatever age I experienced said memory. And I say it like that because, well, sometimes as a kid, you're not getting all the context of whatever's going on around you while you're a little kid. That's just the truth of the matter. So, again, sorry, just the fucking lies.
How wonderful it was, but also how hard it was. So in this photo, I am about 12 years old, and 3 years later, I actually wrote a poem. So I was 15, and I still have that poem. I remember when I was in high school, I went to the trailer where I used to live, and there was still some stuff laying around. couches and things were torn apart by the police, and it was just insane. But there was a few things still left in my room, and one of those things was the poem that I wrote about my baby brother, who I only got to meet one time. And through all the years of being alive, because I'm 32, I have been able to keep that poem. So I want to show you the picture.
If it was years later that the police raided the place,
okay? But it was special and important.
Why wasn't the place properly cleaned out and re-rented? That's what I don't understand.
We're out there under the same moon. We placed our feet on the same gravel. I met you once and held you tight. I think of the sadness of my last goodbye. You looked at me with baby eyes, oblivious to your future versus mine.
She does look a lot like her mom in that picture, though.
I suffer the consequence. Although I saw everything we could be, our mom made the choice and set you free. A brother I will love forever, who will never love me. My first brother that was put up for adoption, that I was really close to, saved his life and everything. I still don't know where he is. I think about him, dream about him, miss him.
You didn't save his life.
And I just hope that he's okay. But the one in that photo that I just showed you guys, he found us a few years ago. So he is actively in my life. And I can safely say that, that last line in the poem isn't true. He loves me and I love him. And I've never been so grateful. And I can only hope that my other baby brother will find me one day, hopefully. Okay, so right now...
And it's actually, rather convenient that that's basically a story that no one can corroborate.
What is it that I want to do with myself? Like, I thoroughly just feel so lost as a person right now. I just feel so lost. And I just need to find myself, be myself, like, just wholeheartedly. I don't care about what anyone says about me. I don't care. I just need to be myself, and I have to keep, reminding myself of that. Because the only person I got right now is myself. That's the only person I got right now. And with how lost...
That's not true. Because technically, Feline's still living with her at this point. But she's obviously in contact with her mom because she decides to go move to be closer to her. And that means looking for an apartment and everything else. And that takes her some time to do so. So, why would she do that if not in contact with her mom? If not at least getting emotional support from her mom during this time? Because I know people give Mama Lynn a bit of shit. And it's not everyone. I know some people do. I don't like speaking in absolutes. So I think the fact that Mama Lynn got clean from whatever harder substance she was on is amazing. The fact that she has stayed clean is amazing. I believe that her kids were probably the biggest contributing factor to her doing this. And still is. I believe that when Amber had people visiting, I believe it was the two brothers she does have contact with. I think that's why we didn't see them at all. I think maybe we did see one pretend to be the stranger that came up to her and pretended to be a fan, who acted like they were a fan who didn't know she had moved into the area. So again, make it make sense. But when she was drinking alcohol, she was drinking by herself. And if at least one of her brothers has previous substance abuse issue and wouldn't want to be around alcohol, that would explain why she was drinking by herself. That's what makes sense to me. And she probably didn't want people to know in case they would track them down while she was out and about with them and be like, well, do you know your sister said all this shit about you? Especially the one that has the previous issues. But as the visit coincided with Mama Lynn's birthday, I think that's why they were there. That's just what all makes sense for me. If you want to disagree, drop it in the comments. If you think it's something else, share your thoughts. Let's have a discourse about it. So, but I mean, she says she has no one, but that's not the truth. She just wanted people to take pity on her in this moment. And that just makes me more upset.
Lost, I feel. Like, if I didn't even have myself, I don't even know, like, I just don't know. Just, like, amongst all that and just, like, feeling lost, I know that I'm gaining weight. Like, I actively see it in my face when I'm editing, and it kind of shocks me.
And yet you do nothing to change it.
On my body, and it's also really hard to notice weight gain on my body. And the fact that I can, like, physically see that, I hate it. I hate it so much. Like, I just can't sit around and sit and wait and wait and wait. Like, what am I waiting for? You know? And I don't know why, but, like, I keep having, like, these feelings of guilt. And I talk about guilt a lot in therapy, with things that happened in my past when I was younger, things that were definitely not my fault. And it's like my therapist is trying to teach me, like, when it's okay to feel guilt and when I'm feeling guilt for, like, reasons that maybe don't make sense, things that I shouldn't feel to people. But something I'm feeling, like, a sense of guilt, which I feel like is sabotaging me, like I'm doing, like, a self-sabotage situation type deal, is, like, when I was with Feline, like, a lot of people, you know, thought she was a feeder and, like, all this nonsense.
Yep, apparently people still think that.
The whole time she was so supportive and she wanted me to lose weight. And it wasn't because of physicality, because she finds me beautiful. And for that I'm forever grateful, because she actually made me feel that way a lot. And it was just because of health and because of stamina. And, you know, she wanted to have a whole life with me. And obviously at this size, she was only able to have, like, a partial of that instead of, like, what she fully wanted, you know? Like, we couldn't hop on a plane and go to Bora Bora because of me. I had all this.
I'm still partially of the mind the reason why Feline decided she had enough of Amber was because how to explain this? Because of the pattern of abuse that she's shown with the other exes, I think at some point, right before the breakup, Amber might have raised her hand to Feline or had something similar to a Code Red incident. And that's why it just seems so sudden. It seems sudden to us. It seems sudden to her. I don't think she thought Feline would just go, I'm out, you know? That's my working theory. Because other people think that she might have just been looking for a sugar mama, and I can't disagree with that. So, whatever feelings might have been there would not have been deep enough for her to stay the moment Amber flipped the switch like that. And again, people might want to disagree, but she showed with Casey, she showed with Crystal, she alluded to it with Becky. She was, at least from what we could see, verbally and mentally abusive to Becky outright. Destiny seemed to be mostly free of it. And for a while, Feline seemed mostly free of it. So why the sudden shift? Because it was very sudden, very abrupt. And I think as a pattern of knowing an abuser, as I do, when Feline pumped the brakes and said, no, we're done, Amber proceeded to love bomb while Feline was still there, which is why they started hooking up again. But Feline still had it in her head. She was fucking cutting when all was said and done. And that's why we get Amber being all upset anew after the move. And Feline basically heads the fuck out shortly thereafter. And apparently why Feline in the end had to tell Amber, stop calling me. So if you think I'm off base with any of this, again, you're free to drop things down in the comments. Maybe I am off base without talking to Feline. I don't know. But with my own past experience, with my mom, her friends, her exes, I had my own brief relationship that was abusive, but as soon as he did that to me, I called the cops. The first time. It was the first and only time. I actually had some fractured ribs from that first and only time, but that's what happened, and no, I was never going to go through that again. So, with all the experience that I have, that's my theory. And it just seems to be what makes the most sense with the way this all plays out.
All the support from her and all the guidance. She always urged me to exercise and to eat healthy and do right. And it's like, if I do that now, I'm gonna feel so guilty. Because it's like, why did I do that when I was with her?
Feline probably met the binge monster.
Like, guilt feeling. And I know I need to talk about it in therapy. And like, I'm talking about it to Feline, obviously, like, it's something we talked about earlier today, and it's just like, she obviously doesn't want me to feel this way, like, regardless if we're together or not, like, she wants me to succeed, but it's like, why do I feel so bad that, like, if I succeed now when we're not together, like, it's such a weird...
No, you're just looking for an excuse not to succeed.
Brain, like, that I just can't understand, and it just makes me feel guilty.
Because you don't succeed now. You don't. You're not succeeding now.
Anyways, I don't want to sit here and just like blubber and cry and.
Yes,
whatever.
you do.
So I'm trying to sit here and like take away those feelings of like, yes, Amberlynn, you didn't do it while you were with her, but do it while you're not with her. You don't have to be with her to do it. And you don't have to feel guilty for succeeding while not being with her. And I have to figure out, like, how I can say that and actually mean it. A lot of people, like, have said in the past that it makes myself sabotage myself. Like, the first time ever in my life I feel that way, that I'm, like, subconsciously self-sabotaging myself. And I'm, like, just tripping about it. And I don't know, it's, like, the craziest feeling that I just cannot wrap my head around fully. I'm trying to ignore it and I'm trying to push it away, but sometimes when feelings are so strong, that's like sometimes virtually impossible to do. So I'm sitting here and I'm trying to make like a store list and trying to decide like what just makes the most sense to me. But it's like I just want to like do common sense. I just want to eat healthier, you know, just take out the junk, take out the fast food. I'm blessed with something super healthy, but even then it's hard for me to choose healthier fast food options and takeout options. I don't know why. Like losing weight is so easy. Like realistically it's easy, but I just make it so much more difficult than it needs to be. Like for real. So
It's because you don't want to really lose weight.
I have made a store list, so we'll definitely do a grocery haul and I don't know.
I mean, unfortunately, that's the truth of it. She doesn't want to succeed.
And honestly, off topic,
she likes food too much.
Topic, I just want to say thank you guys for being like my video diary audience. I appreciate it.
It's honestly why she stops Ozempic. She says it's the gallstones.
This is supposed to be, you know, Amberlynn's single era. Like she's supposed to be just like
she found an excuse,
and, like having a glow up. And
but she didn't like the fact that she wasn't eating as much.
In my single era.
She wanted to eat.
Era. I am broken era. I am in my I'm lost era. I am freaking sad. I am grieving. I am mourning era. I'm not.
But she has an addiction to food.
Blow up single Lynn era. That's not where I'm at right now. And it's like if you can't appreciate me being vulnerable, just kind of accepting that this is where my life is at right now. It's like bye. Obviously, like there's no connection between me and you. So why are you watching? I feel like all the people that I watch, there's like some sort of connection, and anyone that I like,
that's because they have the same personality issues you do.
And I know that if there was anyone that I was watching was going through it,
like Trisha Paytas,
like my heart would go
and Shane Dawson,
and I would understand where they're coming from and like where their life is and all of that. And I just feel like people are expecting a lot out of me right now when it's hard for me sometimes just to get out of bed. I'm finding things to do with my life to distract myself, but there's only so much distraction that I can do. There's only so much, you know, talk.
She's trying to act, or at least say the things that clue people in that she's feeling depressed. Yet, she will not take any steps to fix that depression. She will not take meds. She does not stick with a therapist long term. We don't hear her talk about any sort of exercises that she might have been encouraged to do from the therapist that she sees for the weight loss stuff. It's another thing that upsets me because I don't know what they're calling it these days. It's been called both severe and major depression. I technically have a family history of depression. There have been technically a family history of suicide, both attempted and successful. So for her to say shit like that, it's again another thing that upsets me because as it's actually something I'm personally going through, pick a fucking lane. You know, if you need the help, take the fucking help. There is no reason for her to have the apprehension about medication like she does. There's none. It's not like her parents had issues with prescription meds. So far as I understand. She always made it sound like it was illicit substances, not prescription. She's not black, so she doesn't have that unfortunate, legit bias that some black people have when it comes to trusting doctors. Because if you look into it, there were vaccine trials and other things that the government has done that's shady as fuck, and they targeted our most vulnerable because they wouldn't have the money to take care of themselves, and they didn't know. Oh, just give me a second. I got a call.